Welcome back to Hockey Thoughts with Scott. What I want to do in this video is I want to get into some trade talk. What could happen, especially with some teams that are out of the playoffs, some teams that are still into the playoffs. Once in a while I run into a trade, whether it's on Twitter, other websites, or on Cap Friendly, that intrigue me. Now, Cap Friendly does have a trade manager where you could set up a trade and be able to work with it. So this one I found about a week or so ago, and as a Sabre fan, it caught my eye. The deal is Brandon Montour and Carter Hutton going to the Vancouver Canucks. In return, Jordie Benn, Brandon Sutter, Jake Virtanen, Thatcher Demko coming back to Buffalo. Now, on the outside of this, there's some good and there's some bad to this. First and foremost, let's take a look at Buffalo's, just their forwards, and just their team in general. Going into next season, they've got a ton of UFAs to decide what they're going to do with. My guess is maybe one of those UFAs, Gergensons or Larson, may be back, but most of the other RFAs or UFAs, they're going to be gone. I can't see the Sabres re-signing any of them. As it comes to the RFAs, they all have arbitration rights. Now, Lawrence Pilot is not going to be here. He's already re-signed. He signed in Russia for the next 2 years. Brandon Montour is a part of the deal as an RFA. But you have other forwards that are RFAs as well. But when you look at what the Sabres have, Skinner, Eichel, Oposo, and Johansson, the only forwards that are currently on the roster, that doesn't include Tage Thompson, who is an RFA as well, does not include Dylan Cousins, who will be on his entry level, Casey Mittelstadt, who is an RFA as well. So, I mean, they don't have a lot of they don't have a lot of contracts on the forward ranks. So when you take a look at the deal itself, Brandon Sutter would come in, be a third or fourth line center, and that's primarily a cap casualty. Jordie Benn comes in, takes a fifth, sixth defense spot. That's fine. It's Virtanen and Demko that intrigue me. Now, I do wonder about other availability of other players, but let's take a look at Vancouver for a moment. And when we take a look at Vancouver and the Canucks cap situation, going into next year, they've got Toffoli, who's a UFA. Virtanen's an RFA. Gaudette is RFA. Tyler Mott, Zach McEwen, Tanev, and Fantenberg. But they have a lot of their core roster set for next season. Here's the problem that they have. Jacob Markstrom's a UFA. The only way this deal could potentially work, for the Canucks, is if they decide to re-sign Markstrom for a long-term deal. When I say long-term deal, I'm talking more than 1 year. If they're going to hitch their wagons and try to win with Markstrom, then yeah, I think they have to move Demko. They're going to have to move. They're going to have to move other guys in order to sign what they have. And it's not this offseason that's the problem. It's next offseason, because of Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes both being RFAs. They are going to get those two players are going to get big time money based on what they've done so far. So they have to start clearing the books a little bit. Virtanen's a guy who's interesting to me in the sense that he's been in the league for a few years. He may have worn out his welcome in Vancouver. However, if I'm a Sabre fan and I'm looking at this potential deal, I want to tweak this just a bit. As opposed to Brandon Montour going, what if you were to put in Rasmus Ristolainen, and in return, Brock Besser comes back? So you're taking out Montour, you're adding in Ristolainen, you add in Besser, and maybe you remove a part or two. Maybe you remove Virtanen and Ben, and you go with Brandon Sutter. So this way you get that cap relief for Vancouver. You get Besser, you get Demko. Carter Hutton moves over, so this way they at least have a stable backup for Markstrom. That's something I think could work. So to me, it's an interesting thought. The deal itself, as constituted here, I think if you were to make some minor tweaks, I think there's a lot there. I think there's something here that you can definitely work with. Whether it's Montour, whether it's Ristolainen, whether you have to take Brandon Sutter. I think you would have to take Brandon Sutter's contract regardless, because you do have the cap space. Vancouver is going to be in a bit of a cap pickle, depending on what they decide to do. It's an interesting deal, and this deal does not include the Sabres trading Casey Middlestat, does not include the number 8 pick in the draft, which, in order for the Sabres to get better, I think they may have to look at trading one or both of those assets to get better right now. And as a Sabre fan, and knowing what my cohort of Sabre fans think, they're tired of losing. Again, it's one of those playoffs or busts, and it's getting pretty old for the Sabres not making the playoffs. Let me know what you think about this particular deal. Leave the comments below. I thank you for watching this video. If you do like this content, go ahead and smash the like button, and please go ahead and subscribe for additional content that you may see going forward. Thank you very much. Have yourself